You ever have one of those moments where a total stranger walks up and starts telling you things about your life? You never told a soul, and suddenly you realize you've been living in a web you didn't even know was there. Yeah, that happened to me. And let me tell you, it started with a get your guess off this dock immediately and spiraled into a personal war. So insane, I started wondering if I was the villain in someone else's story. The wildest part, I thought she was just another HOA. Karen with a clipboard until she looked me in the eye and said, "You travel to Dallas every third Tuesday of the month, don't you?" And right then my blood went cold. I'd never told anyone in the neighborhood about my work schedule, never posted it, never even mentioned it at a barbecue. She claimed she was our new HOA president, which was news to me since we didn't even have an HOA, and then rattled off my clients, my office address, even my go-to coffee order. The smile on her face wasn't just cold. It was the kind of expression you see in chess players when you don't even realize you're 3 moves away from getting checkmated. I'll never forget the way she said my name, Jason Roberts, like she'd been rehearsing for months, maybe years, waiting for the exact right moment to let me know she'd been watching. I swear you ever realize someone's stalking you, it makes you question every friendly wave you ever got. It all started as one of those picture-perfect American mornings, sun shining, kids cannonballing into the lake, cold beers sweating on the dock. Just good times and laughter that make you forget there's people out there plotting your downfall. I'm a software engineer, problem solver, barbecue enthusiast, and apparently a magnet for enemies I didn't know I had. What I didn't see was that a spider had been spinning a web around my life for over a year, hiding in plain sight, looking harmless. She appeared at the edge of my property like she'd just materialized from the mist clipboard, clutched like it was some magic sword. She looked exactly like every other suburban mom with a cause-sensible shoes, oversized glasses, whole vibe of I volunteer at the library book sale, but the way she walked up to my dock, you'd have thought I was trespassing. Red flag, right? But I was too busy flipping burgers to notice the clouds gathering over my head. "Excuse me, I'm going to need your guests to leave the dock immediately." "No, please, no, sorry, just stone cold authority like she was reading a weather report." My buddy Jake, who's had more run-ins with difficult folks than I've had hot dinners, just blinked at her like she was speaking another language. "I almost choked on my laughter, ma'am. This is private property. You can check the records if you want, but you got no business here." I figured she'd storm off or at least get flustered, but no. She just smiled that same calculated smile, the one that says, "You have no idea how deep this goes." "Oh, Mr. Roberts," she said, and the way she drew out my name was like a snake flicking its tongue. "I'm the newly elected HOA president, and I think you'll find regulations regarding waterfront access have changed." Then she held up paperwork that looked official, but wouldn't fool anybody with more than a 6th-grade education. That's when she started dropping details about my life nobody should know. My trips to Dallas, my confidential client, Dataff Flo, which by the way was so secret only my assistant and that one client knew the name. My mouth went dry and I could feel the barbecue behind me freeze. Jake even dropped his spatula. "How do you know about Dataff Flo?" I asked, trying not to sound as freaked out as I felt. She just smiled. "I make it my business to know about people in our community, especially those impacting property values with unauthorized improvements. Your deck expansion permit's quite ambitious." It was like she'd been tracking every envelope in my mailbox. I started to recognize her mannerisms, but couldn't place her like remembering a dream you can't quite pin down. Meanwhile, my neighbor Walter was hovering nearby, already dialing the non-emergency line to log the incident. He's our unofficial historian. Every drama, every timestamp, everything gets logged. But this wasn't normal neighbor drama. This was personal, targeted, calculated. Jake finally spoke up. "Look, lady, you're trespassing. You have no authority. You need to leave before I call the sheriff." She looked satisfied, like she'd gotten the reaction she wanted. Then she dropped the real bomb. "You have such a pattern of destroying people's livelihoods when they don't accommodate your preferences." My skin crawled. That wasn't about decks or docs, that was personal history, and I had no clue why. She packed up her papers but kept watching my face, memorizing every twitch like she was collecting evidence. "I'll be in touch, Mr. Roberts." Then she walked to a car, parked out of sight, and drove off. The barbecue never recovered. My friends wanted to call the cops. My family was freaked out. But all I could think about was the way she'd said destroying livelihoods. It stuck in my mind like a splinter. Had I ruined someone's life and not even known it? That night I checked my security footage thinking I'd see her approach. What I found was way worse. She'd been parked outside my house for 2 hours before showing up, making calls, taking notes, smiling at my house when she thought no one was watching. That's not neighborhood busybody stuff. That's hunter-prey level stalking. So I did what any rational software guy does. I started digging. County records proof we had no HOA, but what I found was a nightmare Shirley Williams had filed. 7 different easement claims with the county over 4 months, all perfect, all in the gray zone, all enough to cost me thousands in legal fees. The county clerk actually said, "Oh yes, the Williams easement claims, those are very thorough." I realized she'd been building her legal trap for months, maybe longer, using insider timing and every local regulation she could dig up. This wasn't amateur hour. It was psychological and legal warfare. I started asking around. Turns out, Shirley had been harassing every neighbor who might back me in a dispute, hitting them with fake citations, violation notices, even personal details. Nobody should know. By that evening, we had a garage full of neighbors, a call tree, a war room, and a pile of evidence. We agreed no shouting, keep it organized, document everything hit the county with records requests. It felt like we were prepping for a court battle. The emergency meeting that night looked like a town on the verge of civil war. Shirley showed up with a briefcase and a polished professional look, none of the barbecue Karen nonsense. She gave a pitch worthy of a corporate boardroom charts and all about property values and the need for community standards. People yelled about freedom, she countered with common good. Then she went after me personally, calling me uncooperative and aggressive. That's when I snapped. This woman has been harassing neighbors with fake citations, filed fraudulent claims, cost me thousands in legal fees, got my professional license investigated on bogus complaints. This isn't about standards. It's about one person trying to control everyone else through deception. The room went dead quiet. But Shirley just stayed cool, insisting she was within her rights to file professional complaints. The next day I got a call from my biggest client. They'd received a complaint about me, were suspending my contract, and that was 1/3 of my income gone. How'd she know which client to target, I realized. While I'd been laughing at her fake paperwork, she'd already set out to destroy everything I'd built. My lawyer, Margaret, told me, "Jason, this isn't neighbor drama. This is targeted strategic revenge." I kept digging. In an old work photo, I finally spotted her Shirley Williams Finance at my last job. And then it clicked. She'd embezzled money. I'd reported her, testified at her trial. She went to jail, lost her career, and apparently spent the next 18 months plotting payback. Everything, the HOA Act, the county filings, the neighborhood manipulation, the licensing complaint, the fake online reviews, even the mugshot from 15 years ago she used to blackmail me, it was all part of her campaign. I tried, in one wild act of mercy, to meet her face to face, offer help, a clean slate. But she just got angrier, said my kindness was just more punishment. That night, my dock was vandalized, my security cameras blinded. Soon, neighbors who stood up for me were threatened, gardens destroyed, cars slashed. Walter migrated our evidence to the DA. Jake called in every security favor he had. We went full lockdown, fences, lights, legal restraining orders, neighborhood watch, the works. But Shirley wouldn't quit. She crawled through a storm drain to inspect my property, had a breakdown in front of half the town, and was finally taken in for psychiatric care. I agreed not to press charges if she'd get treatment. She moved, found work, helping other ex-offenders, sent me a letter that floored me. A real apology, honest and raw, admitting that revenge only ruined her life more. Months later, peace returned. We rebuilt our dock, the garden bloomed, and the neighbors who'd been at odds came together. Then a year on, I got a package evidence suggesting Shirley wasn't the only one stealing at our old firm. So now I'm left staring at the ultimate twist. What do you do when the person who tried to ruin you comes back with a chance to clear her name but burns someone else? I gotta ask, if you were in my shoes, would you let sleeping dogs lie or open up that whole can of worms for the sake of justice? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes the end of a story is just the start of another. And in this neighborhood, you never know who's really keeping score.